You don't need a mansion or a Hollywood name to leave behind a story that's more than just fame.
Me to need a will, just a family, or a cat plotting world domination. Welcome to Celebrity Estate Chaos, where we prove a lot of things. Like how estate chaos isn't just for millionaires with private islands, anyone with stuff, relatives, or that one weird collection you think nobody's fighting over. And chances are, they will.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at the really complex final chapter of a comedic legend, Robin Williams. I mean, this is the guy who could just spin chaos into pure gold, right? Think Mork, Mrs. Doubtfire, Aladdin, just pure genius.
Absolutely. A master of improv.
But here's the twist, and it's quite a sad one. After his death in 2014, the master of controlling chaos, well, he left behind an estate that kind of spiraled into confusion. It actually led to this year-long legal fight over his most personal stuff.
Yeah, and that's our focus today. We're going to dig into the sources that cover this legal battle between his widow and his children. It's a really stark example, actually, of how even a solid trust, one set up with good intentions, can just completely unravel, mostly because of, fuzzy language and, frankly, really high emotion.
High emotions, yeah.
So our mission here is to unpack this whole situation, this estate battle, and pull out some really crucial lessons for you, for anyone thinking about their own planning. Clarity is key.
Okay, let's set the scene a bit. Robin Williams, he actually grew up with quite a bit of money in Chicago. His dad was a big exec at Ford, but he often talked about feeling, pretty lonely as a kid, and humor became his escape, his refuge.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that develop into this incredible talent, mixing slapstick with real soul, like in Good Will Hunting on Dead Poets Society.
Phenomenal range.
His personal life, though, was also pretty layered. 3 marriages, Valerie, then Marcia, then finally Susan Schneider, and 3 children from those first 2 marriages, Zach, Zelda, and Cody. So you have this blended family dynamic playing out.
Right, and that's complex in itself. Add the pressure of intense global fame. It's a lot.
Definitely.
And, we have to talk about the private struggles behind that public brilliance. The sources are clear on this. He battled depression and addiction for much of his life. That's known. But there was something else happening in his final year, something critical.
Yeah.
He was initially told he had Parkinson's, but the autopsy revealed it was actually Lewy body dementia, which is just. It's a brutal neurological disease. It affects memory, movement, perception, personality, everything. His widow, Susan, described it as watching him disappear. So imagine trying to do meticulous estate planning, update documents, while dealing with that.
That context is absolutely crucial. The illness must have made clear thinking, let alone complex legal planning, incredibly difficult towards the end.
Exactly. It sheds light on why things might not have been perfectly buttoned up, despite his efforts.
Right, because that's the thing that's so striking. Despite all this personal chaos, the fame, the illness, he did do the responsible thing. He had lawyers, he created a trust. So if he set it up, what was the actual tripwire? What went so wrong?
Well, on paper, his intentions seemed pretty clear, pretty straightforward. He wanted to provide for everyone. His widow, Susan, was granted the right to live in their Tiburon home, the one they shared for the rest of her life, plus funds for its maintenance. And the trust also mentioned she'd receive certain personal items and contents thereof. Big quotes around those.
Contents thereof. Okay, sounds a bit vague already.
And then his children, Zach, Zelda, and Cody, they were said to inherit the bulk of his financial wealth, also his other personal property, his awards, jewelry, clothes, and crucially all memorabilia, another vague term.
Memorabilia, right. So the problem wasn't the overall intent, it was the specific words used.
Precisely. That's where it all broke down. Memorabilia, personal items, contents of the home. These terms weren't clearly defined anywhere in the legal documents. And that lack of definition, that ambiguity, it just created this massive vacuum. And into that vacuum rushed grief, disagreement, different interpretations.
But hold on, this is Robin Williams we're talking about. Huge star, surely had access to top-tier lawyers charging, huge fees. How could basic subjective words like memorabilia or contents just be left hanging like that? Isn't preventing this exactly what estate lawyers are supposed to do?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
And it's complicated. The sources suggest a couple of possibilities. First, trusts often get amended, sometimes quickly, especially with life changes like remarriage. Things can get missed or become inconsistent. Second, and this seems really relevant here, lawyers often focus heavily on the big-ticket items. Real estate, investments, cash. the liquid stuff. They might not spend as much time drilling down into the specifics of, well, sentimental items, things whose value isn't really monetary.
Ah, right. So the fight wasn't really about the millions, it was about the memories attached to physical objects.
Exactly. It was about items holding immense emotional weight. And that's where the ambiguity became toxic.
Can we talk about some specific examples? The sources mentioned particular items that caused the most heartache, right?
Yes, definitely. The big one, often cited, was the Oscar statue he won for Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
Was that a personal item that should stay in the Deberon home with Susan as part of the contents? Or was it memorabilia specifically intended for his children?
Well, yeah, I can see the problem. What
Oh,
else?
it went beyond the Oscar. There was his watch collection, apparently quite extensive.
Mm-hmm.
His collection of bicycles. He was a serious cyclist. That included the bike they apparently used on their honeymoon.
The honeymoon bike. Oof, that's personal.
Very. And even things like the prosthetic nose from Mrs. Doubtfire, the makeup molds.
Yeah.
Iconic stuff. But where does it fall? Personal item. Memorabilia.
It sounds like a definitional nightmare fueled by grief.
That's a good way to put it. It became profoundly emotional. He had his children and his widow both grieving, both wanting tangible connections to him. When that level of emotion is involved, logic often takes a back seat. Those vague terms in the trust basically guaranteed a fight because they were arguing over memories, not just things.
A fight that dragged on for nearly a year in court, right? That must have been incredibly painful for everyone.
Absolutely. Almost a full year of legal battles, filings, negotiations, just prolonging the pain.
So how did it finally end? Did they reach some kind of agreement?
Yes, they did, thankfully. A settlement was reached in October 2015. And the resolution, well, it seemed to try and divide the sentimental property in a way that perhaps aligned with what Williams might have originally intended, or at least what seemed fair.
Okay, so what did that look like?
The children received the bulk of the items generally considered memorabilia, the awards, for instance. And most of his personal property, that wasn't physically in the Taberon home.
Got it. And Susan?
Susan, his widow, kept her lifetime right to live in the Taberon home, as the trust originally stated. And the settlement specifically allocated certain sentimental items to her, things like wedding gifts, a watch he wore often, and, yes, the honeymoon bike.
The honeymoon bike. Wow. So a clear resolution, but one born out of conflict.
Exactly. Painful, I'm sure, but clear. Forged under duress, really.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical for everyone listening, because this isn't just about celebrities and Oscars. This applies to anyone with, family heirlooms, photo albums, anything sentimental. So what are the big lessons here? What could Robin, or what can we do differently to avoid this kind of mess?
Right. Lesson number one is absolutely fundamental. Clarity beats creativity. Always. You just can't assume people will interpret things the way you do, especially when grief is involved. Define everything.
Define everything. Like,
if you say contents of the home, spell out exactly what that means. Does it include the valuable painting over the fireplace, the book collection, the awards on the shelf, or just the furniture and dishes?
be super specific.
Yes. Leave no room for interpretation. If there's a gray area, that's where the fighting starts. Specificity is your best defense.
Okay, clarity first. What's lesson 2?
Lesson 2 flows from that. Inventory your treasures. And I mean the sentimental ones, not just the bank accounts.
So make a list.
Make a detailed list. Maybe even take photos. Your collection, special jewelry, family heirlooms, awards, whatever holds emotional value. And critically, don't just say, my kids get my stuff. Assign specific items to specific people.
So explicitly state, Zelda gets the Oscar, Cody gets the bike collection, Zakup gets the watches. That level of detail.
Exactly that level. It might feel tedious, but it preempts so much potential conflict and heartache down the road. Ambiguity is the enemy here.
Got it. Inventory and assign specifics. What's next?
Lesson number 3 is about keeping things current. Update and communicate. Your estate plan isn't a one-and-done thing. Life changes. You get remarried, you buy a new house, you start a new collection. Your documents need to reflect that.
Right. Robin Williams did amend his trust, but maybe not thoroughly enough at the very end.
Possibly. Or perhaps the changes created new ambiguities. But just as important as updating is communicating. Talk to your loved ones about your wishes before something happens. Let them know what you've decided and why. Transparency can really diffuse tension later.
That makes sense. Avoid surprises during a time of grief.
Precisely.
And the final lesson. This one seems tied directly to his health decline.
Yes, lesson 4. Plan for incapacity. This is crucial for everyone, not just celebrities facing serious illness. Given what we now know about the Lewy body dementia diagnosis, it underscores the need for robust planning for a time when you might not be able to make sound decisions yourself.
So things like powers of attorney, medical directives.
Exactly. Durable powers of attorney for finances, healthcare proxies, or directives. Documents that appoint someone you trust to make decisions about your property and your health if you become unable to. It removes a huge burden from your family during an already difficult time.
It's quite a legacy, isn't it? The sheer joy he brought millions contrasted with this cautionary tale about estate planning.
It really is. Immense spontaneous joy on one hand, and this sobering reminder that even the best intentions can go awry if the details aren't nailed down.
Yeah.
And what's really striking, as we've discussed, is that the sources suggest this whole battle wasn't really driven by greed or, inherent malice between the family members. It seems to have stemmed primarily from poorly drafted documents.
Wait.
From ambiguity.
The words themselves.
Yes, which makes this estate a really powerful lesson. It shows that estate planning, at its core, is maybe less about managing vast wealth and much more about preserving family harmony, preserving peace of mind, especially when people are grieving.
Robin Williams famously told us to seize the day, carpe diem, but his own story adds a twist, doesn't it? If the man who could improvise brilliance out of thin air couldn't quite improvise his way around an unclear trust, well, it makes you think. When was the last time you really looked at the fine print on your own final
That's
act?
a wrap for today's chaos. If you learned something, laughed a little, or now feel slightly more prepared for life's curveballs, we've done our job. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere podcasts make you rethink your to-do list. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if it's important and unexpected, we probably cover it. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.